Time to wake up.
Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake.
Time to wake up. Time to wake up.
Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake.
Time to wake up.
All right. Happy Sabbath. Shabbat Shalom. Shalom. Grace and peace in the mighty name of Jesus. All glory to the Father. In the mighty name of Jesus. Let's get started on this lesson quickly. Please share the video. Start watch parties again. Thank everybody on Facebook for tuning in. Everybody on Periscope for tuning in. I can't go live YouTube because something done happened. They didn't shut me off over there. But I can upload the video to YouTube. That's very strange. But we're going to get back into this lesson again. And I'm going to start over since we're at the beginning. Let's go back to Isaiah 28. Start reading at verse 9. This is a little mini lesson I do before the actual lesson. All right. How do we learn and how do we teach? Isaiah 28 verse 9. Whom shall he teach knowledge? Who is the he? He is the Lord. Who's he going to teach it to? He's going to teach it to his priests. And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. How is he going to teach them and how are they going to learn? For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. So everything must be precept on precept. You can take verses here and you can put them together with another verse in another book or in the same book, and you can get a story out of it, but it must be sound doctrine, can't be false doctrine. How are we to learn? Let's go to verse 11. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to his people. So, if you want to learn Hebrew, there's nothing wrong with that. I think I need to put this up at this. You want to learn Hebrew, there's nothing wrong with doing that at all. But once you start trying to tell everybody else you're not going to understand anything unless you know the Hebrew, that's where I have a problem. Because the Lord says here, for with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people. So our Father and the Son are going to teach his priests. Who are his priests? The nation of Israel. You go to Exodus 19, you can read where he said, you will be a priest unto me, a kingdom of priests. And the priests are not supposed to just preach or throw precept upon precept to each other. They got to teach the rest of the world. So with stammering lips and another tongue, he will speak to his people in all languages. There's not a language that he does not know about. And that's how he teaches us, and then we help teach the rest of the world. We should have been doing this voluntarily. We should have been doing this voluntarily, but because we chose to not follow God, we're forced to do this now because of us going into slavery. But we should have learned all the languages anyway and showed the rest of the world. Because remember, that's what Christ told the disciples to do. Go preach unto all nations. Let's go to Isaiah 8 now. Yeah, I'm going to be trying to zip through these things because I done wasted about a good 10, 15 minutes. Isaiah 8, we're going to read one verse. Isaiah 8 and verse 20. This is how we are to teach now. After he done taught us, this is how we are to teach. Isaiah 8, verse 20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. So if someone is just talking about the Torah and the Tanakh, or maybe just the whole Old Testament or just the Torah, and nothing about the New Testament, there ain't no light in them. I don't care what nobody says. This is what the book says. If there's other people that say we just need the New Testament and we don't need that old book with the old laws and everything into it, there's no light in them either. You must teach from what? Genesis to Revelation. That's what this book says. Read it again. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, is because there is no light in them. They false flagging. Let's go to Revelation 14 and 12. So if you got to teach from the law and the testimony, that means you got to have two things, right? You can't just teach from the law and then that's it. You got to teach from the testimony. And who's the one that had the testimony? Jesus, John the Baptist, and all of the apostles and disciples. They had the testimony. Revelation 14, verse 12. Here are the patience of the saints. Who are the saints? These are the people that are going to get into the kingdom. These are people that's actually trying to do what right now? Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. So if you have to have the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus, that means you got to have the law and the testimony. Plain and simple. Let's go to Revelation 12, and then we're going to kick it into the lesson. Revelation 12, verse 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman. Who is the woman? This is Israel. This is the Lord's priests. These are the saints as well. And went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which did what? Which keep the commandments of God, the law, and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So you got to have the law and the testimony. You can't have one without the other. You can't do that. If you only got one, ain't no light. Plain and simple. You got to have them both. Let's get into this lesson now. Let's go to Matthew 7. Let's go to Matthew 7. And let me slow down because now I feel myself rushing. Matthew 7. And we will start reading at verse 13. Matthew 7 and 13. So now this lesson is called pride, a deeper love of self. There are so many people that have pride. There are so many people who don't think they have pride, but they do. We all got some little form of pride, including myself. But there's a difference between pride and dignity. All right? There's a difference between pride and dignity and self-respect. All right? Dignity, no, when you have self-respect and you have dignity, you're going to actually do the things that's in the law. You're not going to let anybody peer pressure you into doing things that you know you should not be doing. But pride is when someone's trying to correct you that you're wrong maybe about something. You're like, no. If anybody saw the flyer I put out, there's a guy standing in the rain and another person is trying to say, come on, get up under this umbrella. And he's just standing there like, no, I don't want you. I don't want you. That's pride. All right. So that's what this lesson is going to be about. Matthew 7, we're going to start reading at verse 13. Enter ye at the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be shall go in thereat. So we have a gate, we have a huge wide gate in this world that many people are going to go through. But let's find out. There's another gate. There's two gates. Verse 14, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way that leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. So we have two gates. The straight gate, only a few gonna find that gate. You better make sure you're a part of that few. Because if you're not, you're going through the wide gate with many people. With many. God is trying to save as many as he can in this world, but he already know. Everybody ain't gonna make it. That's why everybody has a chance and they have a choice. Which gate do you want to go through? Do you want to go through the wide gate with the whole world, with all that they do? Or do you want to go through the straight gate for what Christ said to do? Keep the commandments and keep his testimony, the faith. Let's go to 1 John in chapter 2. 1 John chapter 2. So again, we got two gates, and everyone has a choice which one to go to. Ain't nobody, the Lord ain't gonna force you through none. He gonna let you make that choice. Now, some of the prophets back in the day, he didn't force them to do something because the greater good is the end of the world and who all listened. You can't stop the Lord from doing his will. All right. 1 John 2, we're gonna start reading at 15. 1 John 2:15. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So, if you love the world, you're going through the wide gate. It's that simple. If you love everything that's about this world, now we live in this world, but we should not love the things of this world. Because the things of this world is going to send us through the wide gate. Verse 16. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but of this world. So the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life is not of this world. It's of the Father. And I'm not just speaking to so-called Sunday Christians. I'm speaking to a lot of us Sabbath-keeping Hebrews. A lot of us, we still got that pride on us. We done learned some knowledge. We say we had a faith, but then pride come along and just straight start messing us up. Got to get it together, people. I'm a living witness. I was prideful before, and it might pop up again, but I got to check myself like everybody else do. Verse 17, and the world passeth away, and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. So if the pride of life is not of the Father, then you're not doing the will of God. It's just that simple. Let's go to Mark 7. So you got two gates, and pride is going through one of those gates. Self-check time, everybody. Do you want to stay prideful and go through that gate? Yes, even Israel. Do you want to know who you are, get this knowledge, and still go through that wide gate? I see why now the book says, and the Israel will scarcely be saved. I see why now. Mark 7, let's start reading at verse 20. Mark 7 and verse 20. And he said, that which cometh out of man, that defileth a man. Now let me give a little background on this. This is where a lot of prideful people like to go to say that we could eat anything that we want. All right? And they use this verse to say you don't have to keep the dietary law. But let's read what Christ said. And he said, that which cometh out of man, that defileth the man. For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornication, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile a man. All these things right here defile a man, and they're not of the Father, and they're the pride of life, because pride is in here. Underline that like I did. And it's going through the wide gate. Again, self-check time. Let's go to Psalms 10. Let's go to Psalms 10. Pride that comes out of your mind is what actually defiles you. And again, if you read a couple verses up, people like to try to use those verses to say that we can eat unclean food, and we can't. And that's where pride, their pride, comes in. And then they don't read the rest of, well, they do read the rest, but don't get it, what we just read. The pride, because they want to continue to eat unclean animals, their pride from within is defiling them, and the Lord is letting them read it right there, and they ain't even getting it. Let's go to Psalms 10. I went to Proverbs. Psalms 10. Psalms 10, we're going to start reading at verse 2. Psalms 10 and verse 2 through 7. The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. For the wicked boasts of his heart's desires, and blesseth the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. Why won't he seek after God? Because the pride of life is not with God. So when you're in your pride, when you're being proud, when you're being selfish, you're not with God, and you ain't trying to seek him. Because you're in your anger, you're in your whatever, your stubbornness, whatever it is, and you ain't trying to seek the counsel of the Lord. Verse 5. His ways are always grievous. This is talking about the prideful person. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. Oh, what's puffing? You flaring up like, man, you come on. Ain't nobody gonna touch me. Can't nobody tell me nothing. That's what it comes down to. And we teach our kids this, like I just saying, through songs, through videos, through movies and television. We teach each other to be proud and have pride, but it's the wrong pride. And that's why everybody gonna be going through that wide gate, because it has nothing to do with God the Father at all. Verse 6, he hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. This cat, whoever it is, he said, I will never be in trouble. Nothing ain't gonna touch me. I'm untouchable. Can't nobody do nothing to me. I don't care what you say. That's pride. A deeper love of self. Verse 7, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. Even within Israel, there are brothers and sisters who are, the whole story about the wheat and the tares, that's, I believe it's mainly when it comes to Israel. You got us that are waking up and understanding this word and trying to be truthful and sincere about it. But then you got these tares that got pride, and they trying to come in and sow that seed for you to go fall off. And you can't tell them nothing, because they're not living in God. They false flagging. They perpetrating. Let's go to Proverbs 8. And we have to be mindful of who that is. After a while, you got to understand, okay, this cat, this chick, after a while, you got to start understanding this ain't what the person telling me something. This ain't what the book say. They're telling me they're a philosophy, because their pride is in their heart and it's in their way. Proverbs 8, we're going to do a couple of one-shots real quick. Proverbs 8:13. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride, and arrogancy. Oh, if you just an arrogant brother or arrogant sister, that's part of what? The fear of the Lord is to hate that arrogance. But it's also to hate evil and pride. Okay, just let me stop for a second. The brother that's saying he can't find me on YouTube, YouTube ain't letting me go live for some reason. But I'll upload this a little bit later. Let's finish reading this. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride, and arrogancy, and the evil way, and the froward mouth do I hate. This is the Lord speaking. He hates the perverted mouth. He hates pride, he hates arrogancy and the evil ways. But some people still living in them. And then when you try to tell them they're still living in them, their pride won't let you their pride won't let you tell them that. They will not they gotta let some cats, some people, they gotta let the Lord do it. And I've witnessed this with some people. They were so bad, the Lord did something to them where it was almost their life on the line, and they started changing. Sometimes you just got to let the Lord handle people that's like that. After you done tried to talk to them. Let's go to Proverbs 13. Proverbs 13 and 10. Only by pride cometh contention, but with the well advised is wisdom. So when pride comes, now comes contention. Strife. Contention is strife. Stirring up battles or arguments. With pride cometh contention, but with the well advised is wisdom. And that's what we got to try to learn to deal with. Let's go to Proverbs 14. Let's just ease on down the road. Proverbs 14 verse 3. In the mouth of the foolish is a rod of pride. Oh. So sometimes you could tell with a prideful person that a lot of stuff they speaking is foolish. Read it again. In the mouth of the foolish is a rod of pride, but the lips of the wise shall preserve them. In the mouth of the foolish is a rod of pride. So the Lord, through Solomon, is saying, prideful people are foolish. They some fools. You don't want to be a fool. Self-check time, everybody. Self-check. Even with me. Come on. Let's self-check ourselves. Proverbs 16. We're going to keep on moseying. Proverbs 16 and verse 18. Now everybody know this verse. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Pride comes. So many people have been destroyed because their pride was in the way. And I'm quite sure the Lord tried to have them warned through his priests, through other people. And if they didn't want it, hey, all right, let the destruction happen. Self-check time. Sometimes we got to look at ourselves and be like, man, am I a prideful person? Sometimes we got to do that. That's what this lesson is about. To self-check ourselves. Because why? Pride is a deeper love of self. Verse 18 again. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Better it is to be of the humble spirit with the lowly. It is better to be... Man, what did Christ say? What was the testimony? The meek shall inherit the earth. So all you tough guys out here that want to portray like I'm tough, I'm bad, can't nobody do nothing to me. Moses at the time was the meekest person on the planet. And the Lord preserved him. That means he was a cool, nice brother till you crossed him. But sometimes people don't even get crossed and they got to show that I'm tough, I'm this, I'm that. Brothers, we got to leave that street mentality behind us. You pull it in when it's time to protect yourself as far as physical, but to try to be that and be this, you can't have your foot in this street and here at the same time unless you're in the street trying to pull people over here with the Lord. Same thing, sisters. Same thing with y'all. Better is to be of the humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. He that handleth a matter wisely shall find good. And whoso trusteth in the Lord, happy is he. A lot of times when people clap at us, do what I do. I pray and wait a day. Because if I clap back right away, I might do something wrong. Ain't nothing wrong with walking off. Nothing was wrong with walking off. No matter how much the prideful want to tease you for walking off. You trying to walk in the ways of the Lord. You trying to walk in the ways of your Father. You not trying to walk in the ways of this world. You trying to get to that straight gate. But people trying to pull you over to the wide gate with them. So walk off. No matter how much they tease you. I've been told before through other people, yeah, man, you know, y'all got into it, man, and you was just like, when you walked off, man, this brother, that sister, they kept saying stuff about, talking about you crying. Look at him crying and all that stuff. I'm like, let them say that. That's their pride. They're not doing what God said. Proverbs 29. Let me see. Did we finish all of that? Hold on. Verse 20. Yeah. Okay. Proverbs 29. Proverbs 29. We're going to read one verse. 29 and 23. A man's pride shall bring him low. Woo. The more and more you resist and your pride gets in the way, it's going to bring you low. But honor shall uphold the humble in spirit. Honor. Yes, someone can say, oh, that dude crying, but when it comes to God, I got honor with him. You can do the same thing instead of clapping back. That's that pride getting in the way. And it's also embarrassing. And a lot of prideful people, they show themselves to be that and don't even know that they are. Then everybody else in the room or that witnessed the thing, they looking like, man. The righteous gonna see that. Like, oh, dude like that? Oh, girl like that? Nah, I ain't got nothing to do with that. I don't want to be bothered. Let's read that one more time. 23. Proverbs 29 and 23. I want to read that one more time so we can get into our stories of pride. Proverbs 29 and 23. A man's pride shall bring him low. That's what we're going to focus on this part. A man's pride shall bring him low. Now let's go to Genesis 4. Let's read some stories of how people became low because of their pride. Genesis 4. We gonna hit some basic stories. All right. We gonna hit some basic stories, which I like to call milk, because it's what people know or heard of, but probably never read. Genesis 4. We're going to read verses 1 through 13. Now remember, pride is what brings a man low, right? Let's read. Genesis 4 verse 1. And Adam knew Eve, his wife. And she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she began to bear his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of the sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel to this to his offering. But why did the Lord have respect unto Abel? Let's read it again. Abel also, he had brought the firstlings of his flock. He brought the best, and of the fat thereof. So Abel brought all the best that the Lord gave him in his offering. Verse 5. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. So the Lord didn't respect Cain's offering because he ain't bringing the best. The Lord gave you this stuff. You can't give him the best back so he can continue to give you more? That's what tithing is about too, people. This is where it really started. So Cain's countenance fell because his pride was getting in the way. His brother was doing well, but he wasn't. This should be a lesson that I need to put in the children's lessons when it comes to brothers and sisters, or sisters and sisters, and brothers, and because I grew up in a family, and my foster family is 8 boys, 2 girls. I always wondered why is such and such always mad, because either I'm doing good or one of my other brothers and sisters are doing good, and mom and pop are really rewarding us for doing good. Until I heard my mother say, why should I reward you when you keep doing bad all the time? This is exactly what the Lord is saying too. The same thing. Let's read it where he says this. Verse 6. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? Why are you upset? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. He's saying the same thing my foster mother said. Why you expect me to reward you when you continue to keep doing wrong? Don't get jealous of your brother or your sister because I'm rewarding them for doing what I told them to do. This is the same thing right here. But then the Lord also said this: sin lieth at the door. So for all you brothers and sisters that want to say, well, the law really started when Moses wrote it down. The law been here since God created everything. Before he created us. It says in Isaiah that there was iniquity found in sin. What is iniquity? There was iniquity found in Satan. What is iniquity? Iniquity is sin. What is sin? The transgression of the law. So the law has always been here. So he's telling Cain, you're going to sin if you keep this up. You keep not giving me your best, and you're going to get jealous of your brother. Let's read. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass, and when it went in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. So now he commits murder. He's not doing what he should be doing. He gets jealous and angry because his brother's doing well. I'm quite sure, I know kids don't like to hear this. I'm going to ask my kids. Y'all don't like to hear parents say, why can't you be like your brother? Why can't you be like your sister? Don't like to hear that, right? Okay. Most kids don't like to hear that sentence come out. So the best thing is to be like, if you do well, I will reward you. That's the best thing to really say. That's just a little advice I have for parents. Because you're trying to compare them to their sibling. In my mind, when I heard it before, I was like, but I'm not them. I'm me. But at the same time, I was confessing I wasn't right. Get the kid to see that they ain't right within themselves. And that's what God was trying to do with Cain. But he didn't want to hear it, and he killed him. Let's keep reading. Verse 9. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. I am my brother's keeper. So now he lied. See, he's breaking the commandment after commandment, and this is what actually starts happening. You break one, you start breaking the rest of them. He's not giving his best with the offering. He gets jealous and mad, and he kills his brother. Then he sits here and lies about it. Verse 10, and he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood cried from me from the ground. His blood was crying from the ground. Verse 11, and now thou art cursed from the earth, which hath opened its mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. And when thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee his strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall be a fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. So now, remember what we read before we started all this. A man's pride will bring him low. His pride got in the way. He sinned, and now he's an outcast. He's not in the graces of God. He was so much not in the graces of God, when the flood came, all his descendants were wiped out. All of them. So because of Cain's pride, his descendants got more and more evil, and God had to kill them all and save 8 people. Let's go to Exodus 12. That pride, that deeper love, get you killed. Yes, it will. Let's go to Exodus 12. Let's go to when the Pharaoh. We're gonna talk about Pharaoh. Exodus 12, verse 29. Now, Exodus 12 and 29. Now, the Lord already, let's understand, already wanted to kill Pharaoh. I'm quite sure before all of that, Pharaoh was trying to be warned, but his pride got in the way, and then the Lord fixed it. This should be a lesson to some of us. Sometimes our pride is so great that the Lord will lock it and keep it there. To those that know, when it comes to the truth, you can also, thank you, you can also go reprobate because of your pride. That's when the Lord really fixes it on you. That even when someone comes to you with the truth, you will not hear it. You will believe in the lie. So the Lord did all these plagues, did all this stuff. And here's what happened after that. Exodus 12, 29. And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, and he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, rise up and get you forth from among my people, but ye and the children of Israel, both ye and the children of Israel, and go serve the Lord as ye have said. So now Pharaoh's convinced that this is the Lord, right? The Lord then did all these plagues, then killed all the firstborn of cattle and men, and now he's saying, go serve the Lord. Also take your flocks and your herds as ye have said, and be gone, and bless me also. So now this cat wanted to be blessed also. He's convinced now. This is God, this God of Israel is the Lord. Let's go to Exodus 14 and start reading at verse 8. So now he's convinced, he know who God is. But his pride from the 10 plagues and all these people that had died, the Lord fixed his heart. He knew who he was now, but he fixed him. Because remember, the Lord told Moses earlier, I want to do Pharaoh in and Egypt, all of them. Verse 8. And the of Exodus 14, verse 8. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Who did that? The Lord did. So, like I said, sometimes our pride can be so deep that the Lord will fix it and let you stay that way because he want to destroy you now. Self-check time, people. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and pursued after the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with a high hand. And the Egyptians pursued after them, all the horses and the chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea. Besides Pi-hahiroth and before Baal-zephon, when the Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord. Let's skip down to verse 21. So now they at the sea, they see them coming, and now they doing exactly what everybody should do. Turn to the Lord first and ask, what should I do? Or help me, instead of trying to clap back. Verse 21. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back strong in the east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and their left. And the Egyptians pursued after them, and went after them into the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. Now, remember we just read that that Pharaoh knew that this is God from all the plagues that happened. Now you chasing after them, and you see the wall, you see the sea divide in two, and them go in there. God fixed his pride so much that this dude even became more foolish. We gonna still go in there after them. And it came to pass that in the morning, watch the Lord looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire of a cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels, and drove them heavily. So the wheels came off the chariots. This is the Lord doing this. Now it's just the chariots scraping the mud or the dry ground, in the middle of all of this water. So that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians. Now the rest of them are like, yeah, we need to get up out of here. We stuck. But the trap is over with. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it. And the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the host of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them. Every single one of them cats died. The Lord set them up perfectly because of Pharaoh's pride. Didn't want to listen. The Lord was warning them in all them plagues. Let my people go. No. Let my people go. No. Now everybody's dead. And the people got let go. Pride, a deeper love of self. A man's pride will bring him low. Let's go to Daniel. Daniel 4. The Lord fixed that dude to stay the way he was so he could kill him. That's scary. That really is scary. That's why, like I said, I try to check myself daily. Because there are people that will upset me, and I got to suck it in and walk off, pray about it. By the time I'm done with my pray and wait a day, I ain't even mad no more. Now, if I'm still mad after that, there's a way I gotta clap back. But it's in a respectful and a righteous way. It's called Matthew 18. Talking to the person and not blasting them on Facebook. So let's get to Daniel 4. We're going to read about Nebuchadnezzar's pride. All right? What the Lord did to him and what the Lord did to his son. Daniel 4, we're going to start reading at verse 30. The king spake and said, Is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty? See, the Lord had already said through Jeremiah the prophet that the Lord was giving Nebuchadnezzar all these lands. He was giving him the world. And Nebuchadnezzar knew it. But right here, he's boasting that he did all of this. And the Lord was not pleased. Verse 31. While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee, and they shall drive thee from men. And thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomever he will. What's the kingdom of men? The whole entire world. The Most High runs that. He will give the kingdom or the power, whatever, to whoever he sees fit. But Nebuchadnezzar spoke proudly. I did all this. I did this. I did that. That same hour, that same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, as he was driven from men and did eat grass and as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. So this dude was kicked out of his own kingdom. He's out there in the pasture eating grass, hair getting long, nails getting long. But this is Nebuchadnezzar the king. I know people had to be like, what is he doing? But I'm quite sure word got around, man, the Lord doing this to him, because he boastfully was proud, talking about I, instead of saying, praise ye the Lord for what I have. Always remember that, brothers, especially teachers. Especially when people come up to me, man, brother, as I love what you did, I'll be like, praise the Lord, hallelujah. I give it's his wisdom, his knowledge and understanding that he has let me see and help teach other people. But I ain't about to be like, yeah, I'm the man. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, I ain't about to be near that. Verse 37. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and honor the King of heaven. So now, after he done went through all of this, the Lord had to put a little check. He had to give him 20 blows to the chest. It's violation, bro. And the Lord will do it to us. He will give us them 20 blows to the chest. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt the honor of the King of heaven, all whose works are truth, and his ways are judgment, and those that walk in pride, he is able to abase. He is able to humble those that walk in pride. the Lord will do it to us too. We can be so prideful. He will allow something to happen so tragic that we sit up and be like, you know what? Okay, I'm sorry, Lord. I'm gonna live a witness to that. Let's go into the next chapter. Now that's Nebuchadnezzar. Let's read about his son Belshazzar. Verse 1. Belshazzar the king made a great feast to the thousands of his lords and drank wine before the thousand. Okay. Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives and his concubines might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was in Jerusalem, and the king and his princes and his prince and his wives and his concubines drank in them. Now these are the holy vessels of the Lord that was taken out of Jerusalem when Nebuchadnezzar came and brought us back to Babylon. Verse 4, they drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. All of these are material things, but they're praising the gods of these material things. They not praising the one and only true living God, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Shem. Not praising them. They praising other gods. Remember, these are Gentiles. These white folks. God got down on them too. In the same hour came four fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall in the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, just like Cain's countenance fell. And his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed and his knees smote against one another. This dude was ready to boo-boo on himself because he was that scared now for what he just realized he probably did. Verse 17, let's skip down to 17. So he's trying to figure out what this is going on, and they had to go get Israel that had the answers to tell him what's going on. Let's start reading in verse 17. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, let thy gifts be to thyself, and give the rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing unto the king, and make him known into the interpretation. So Belshazzar, he was going to give whoever could figure out what this writing was a gold chain and a part of the rulership in the kingdom. But he was like, you keep all them gifts. This Daniel talking about, you keep all that stuff. All right. Verse 18. O thou king, the most high God gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father the kingdom and majesty and glory and honor. And for thy majesty he gave him all people, nations, and languages, trembled and feared before him, whom he slew, and whom he would be kept alive, and whom he would have set up, and whom he would have put down. But when his heart was filled up, and his mind hardened in pride. This is Daniel telling Belshazzar about his father. He was disposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. And he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beast, and dwelling was with the wild asses. They fed him with grass like oxen. His body was wet with the dew of heaven, until he knew that the Most High ruled the kingdom of men, and that he appointed over him whoever he will. Notice that he is the God. He's telling them God is the one that does everything. Verse 22. And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, has not humbled thine heart through thou knewest all this. Wait a minute. When Nebuchadnezzar went through this stuff, Belshazzar was a child. Nebuchadnezzar's wife, or Belshazzar's mother, is the one that was reminding them of what happened to Nebuchadnezzar. But Daniel said, though thou knew all of this. So this means Belshazzar was a witness that happened to his father. He forgot. He totally forgot what happened. And now the Lord about to deal with him. Let's skip down to verse 30. So we're not going to read. You can read 25 down on your own. But Daniel interpreted it, the writing, and what happened that very night. In that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. He was slain. He was killed because of his pride. Now, what are we going to get from this? Both of these stories? Another children's lesson. What are we going to get, parents, from this lesson for the children? Nebuchadnezzar got a warning. Notice Belshazzar didn't. Why? Because Nebuchadnezzar didn't know the Lord like he thought he knew. But when he knew the Lord, he raised Belshazzar to know these things, and Belshazzar forgot, and the Lord killed Belshazzar. Let's make sure we show this to our children, that when you grow up in this word, see, there's other kids that's getting breaks because they don't know this word, but when you grow up in this word and you still choose to do what you want, you are more prone, children that's watching, to get cut off quicker than somebody else. Because Nebuchadnezzar was punished, and he came back to his senses. Belshazzar saw what happened to his father, and he lost his senses, and he was killed. I need to put that in his Christ, a respecter of children. I need to put that in that lesson. Why my daughter looking at me all strange? Let's go. So again, his pride brought him down. It brought down Nebuchadnezzar too, but he got a second chance. But it brought down Belshazzar so much, he was killed that very night. Let's go to Revelation 17. Revelation 17. Remember this. A lot of children that's being grown that grew up in this truth. The Lord got grace and mercy. But hey, remember that. It may not be for you what it may be for other people who don't have this word. Revelation 17. And we going to start I don't know. Yeah, let's read this. Because this is the future. Yeah, we're going to read this. I'm trying to. Yeah, we're going to read it. Revelation 17 verse 1. Now remember, all we're about to read is the future. All right? Of men's pride. And there came one of 7 angels which had 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. This is the great religion that the Lord is going to come down on. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon the scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, and having 7 heads and 10 horns. And when the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and decked with gold, and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. No, America is not Mystery Babylon the Great. It is not Mystery Babylon the Great. There's many Hebrews that want to teach that garbage. America is not Babylon the Great. America is inside of Babylon the Great. Babylon the Great is a religious organization that rules over Babylon or Egypt, which is the rest of the world. And they're located in a place where there's only 7 hills. Only one city has 7 hills. And that one city has a city within itself that's not obligated to anybody. It's called Rome. Let's keep reading. Now, verse 6. I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with a great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, and hath 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that was what sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast was, it and is not, yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. America does not sit on 7 mountains. There's way more mountains than that within America. This is a city. So let's read it again. And here's the mindset which is wisdom. Here's the mindset that has wisdom, not pride, wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Rome is the only place where this city sits on 7 mountains. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as of yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So in the future, these 10 kings are going to hook up with the beast. Let's understand something, people. Let's take a detour real quick. Hold on. Let me make sure I remember where it is. I think it's in this chapter. Hold on. I can't remember offhand where it is. Yeah. Hold your marker here. Go over to Revelation 19. And we're going to start reading in verse 19. Revelation 19 and 19. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him. Did I go ahead of myself? Hold on. Just want to make sure I ain't reading this. To go war against him that sat on the horse and his army. So this is Christ coming. And these kings and this beast are going to make war with Christ. Let's keep reading. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that have received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image. Both, now pay attention to this sentence right here. These both were cast alive into a lake of burning, with fire burning with brimstone. The beast is not a computer system. The beast is a man. The beast was taken, and with him the false prophet. These 2 guys are going to be thrown in the lake of fire for 1,000 years before anybody else gets in there. So now let's go back to 17. Because people got a false doctrine out here that the beast is everything except a man. These 10 kings are going to give their power to this one man. He's going to rule over them. He's going to use their armies. And what are they going to do it for? Let's keep reading verse 13 now. These have one mind that they shall give power and strength unto the beast, unto this man. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. That's it. That's the end of it. That one verse right there just got finished saying what they're going to do, and the Lamb going to overcome them. We just read over in 19 that they're going to make war with the Lamb. They're going to make war with Christ. The aliens are coming. The aliens are coming. That's why they're giving you all of these movies now to let you believe when the aliens come that you help them fight the aliens when you're really going to be fighting Christ. That's just a warning I'd like to put out here for my brothers and sisters that believe that the aliens are going to come and we got to get together with you're not going to beat Christ. You're not going to win against him. Anybody that stands against Christ, they going down. That's how gangster God is. But why am I reading this? Because these kings and these politicians are so prideful that they're not even going to change. The same thing that happened in Egypt is going to happen again. This time it's a whole bunch of politicians and kings and presidents and queens, whoever. They going to have one mind just like Pharaoh did. And they're going to actually fight against Christ. And they're being warned. Oh, don't think they're not being warned. What did Christ say in Matthew 24? That this gospel that we teaching right now, that some of y'all never heard of before, this gospel has to be taught to all nations. That means them cats going to hear this stuff. And in their pride, they're going to get mad and be like, get that dude, lock him up. Get this dude or this sister and lock them up. We killing these cats. That's the pride that's going to happen. And that's sad. So for any of y'all politicians that's, I know you ain't watching me, but anybody that's feel like they're going, the book even say people going to be killing folks because they think that's what the Lord wants them to do. That's the Lord turning that pride and locking it. He locking it on them. The book even say that the son of perdition going to prevail over the saints. He going to prevail over the saints. Who's giving that dude his power? Satan. Much pride, a deeper love of self. Let's go to Psalms 2. Let's do some more one-hit wonders. Psalms 2. That's pride. When you're being warned about stuff and you still choose, and the reason they're going to do that is because the same reason the Pharisees had pride. They didn't want to give up their power. They are not going to want to give up their power. They are too rich. They are drunk with the wine of that organization. They're filthy rich off of her delicacies. The merchants, oh no. Psalms 2, 1 through 5. Why do the heathen rage, and why do people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord. Man, that's some really selfish pride, man. And against his anointed. They taking pride and they setting up against the Father and the Son. That's sad, man. Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. They don't want to be ruled by Christ. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. Christ gonna laugh at these cats. Probably laughing now. I know he up there upset and mad. But I'd be laughing too. Look, I made you. And you seriously gonna try to fight me? Are you serious? Pops, they really think they gonna do something? Can I try to help them? Okay, I'm gonna send my messages to them. They done killed my messages. Man, I tried. That's probably what's going on right now. Like, these cats are stupid. They some fools. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. That's that last battle. He coming down. He gonna speak to them in his wrath. He killing them. Everybody, off with ye heads. Period. That's sad. Let's go up to verse 1. I'm sorry, Psalms 1 and 1. Go back a chapter. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. All them cats is some scornful people. But we also have that in the churches. We have that in the camps. We have that in streets. Scornful people, and you don't want to sit in the seat with them. You don't want to sit in the seat with them, because when the Lord gets ready to take out the unjust, you could be right there and get taken out too. You don't want that. Proverbs 23. Proverbs 23. That's a shame when the Lord's sitting there laughing at you. I don't want the Lord to laugh at me like that. I want the Lord to laugh with me when I'm teaching and cracking jokes. That's when I want the Lord to laugh with me. Like he telling, because that's what comedians do. They tell the truth and it's funny. And that's what I want. I don't want him laughing at me like, look at this fool. I don't need that. Proverbs 23 and 9. Speak not in the ears of a fool, for he will despise thy wisdom of thy words. And that's exactly what a lot of scornful people do. A lot of people with pride, you can't speak to them. Now, a lot of times you don't know that they a fool until they done scorned you. They done talked about you. You still try to be meek. You still try to be cool with them, but they continue to keep doing it. What do you do now? Speak not in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of thy words. Let him go. Proverbs 9. Gonna hit some more one-hit wonders. Okay. Proverbs 9, verse 8. Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. If I do something wrong and someone comes to tell me, of course I want them to prove it to me. But I'm trying to be humble, like, all right, okay. And then I'm going to take it in. Now, I might not receive it right then and there, but I'm going to receive it in because I'm trying to be a wise man. But what does it say about a scorner? Lest he hate thee. You trying to reprove or correct someone that's wrong about something and they have pride, they're going to hate you for trying to do that. They're going to hate you. At my job. At my job, one of my bosses is very scornful, right? She don't want nobody. She can't take directions. She's in the seat to give directions, but she can't take them. She likes to burn candles in her office, and I don't blame her because it makes the place smell good. But the fire marshal came through there. It was like, you can't do that. Man, she was mad. Ooh, she was upset. If it's a fire hazard and someone is trying to reprove you and the scorn, I can't stand it. Oh my goodness. That's how it is. But as a wise man, oh, that's a fire hazard? Oh, I ain't gonna do that. I would find another way to have some scent in my office. That's just what I would do. Because I ain't trying to burn up. Proverbs 25. Proverbs 25, verse 8. Go not forth hastily to strive, lest thou know not what to do in the end thereof, when thy neighbor hath put thee to shame. Don't be so ready to go to fight all the time, people. Somebody clap on you, don't be so ready to clap back. Because all it's going to do is escalate, and ain't nobody has been edified in anything. Now you just got two people upset and mad with each other. Because one felt like, oh, you tried to put me to shame in front of people. So I had to clap back. That's why I say, walk away and pray and wait a day. That's what I'm talking about. Proverbs 22. Proverbs 22. We're going to read two verses. 24 and 25. Make no friendship with an angry man. Yeah, someone who's always angry, most likely their pride is always right there before their face. Make no friendship with an angry man, and with the furious man thou shalt not go, lest thou learn his ways, and get a snare to thy soul. Yes, and I'm telling you, the more and more you hang with angry people, you become angry. They're constantly complaining about something, and now the next thing you know, you find yourself doing it. Now the next thing you know, you find yourself doing the same thing. Wise stuff came from Solomon. Let's go to Galatians 5. Or is that 6? I remember last time. Yeah, don't make yourself friendly with an angry man, because you will get caught up in his angry ways. Galatians 5, I believe it was, verse 15. Yep, Galatians 5, verse 15. But if ye bite and devour one another, take heed that ye be not consumed one another. So everyone's going to have disagreements, people. We all going to have disagreements. But if it gets into a blown out, scaling, loud argument, but if ye bite and devour one another, we can't be doing that with each other. This is not what the Lord wants us to do. In my reading in this book, I can only recall the Lord snapping twice. One time when he walked in his father's house and saw them selling, doing stuff they should not have done in his father's house. Yeah, he flipped them tables over. But that's not a reason for you to do it. There's too many people that say, well, yeah, Jesus flipped them tables, so I could be able to do it. No, 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 no. Jesus had a righteous reason to do that, because they were in his father's house selling stuff. You can't use that as an excuse to bite another person. And the second time I remember Jesus really snapping was at the Pharisees, when he was calling them hypocrites, because they were teaching people and not doing what they teach. But that was Jesus. The whole gospel, the whole ministry, he was not snapping at folks. All of us should be able to reason with one another, not debate and argue. But if ye bite and devour one another, take heed that ye be not consumed one of another. This I say then, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary to one another, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led by the Spirit, ye are not under the law. If you're led by the Spirit, you're not under the law. You're doing everything that the law is telling you to do. Let's keep reading. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery. All these things are the flesh when it comes to us. Now these are the works of the flesh, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variances, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of which I tell you before, as I've told you in times past, they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. All the things we just read have to do with pride. You don't want to follow or be obedient to what the Lord said. So your pride makes you do all of these things. You give in to your flesh instead of the Spirit. But the fruits of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance, against such there is no law. And they that are in Christ have crucified the flesh with the affections and lust. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. So if you walking in this Spirit, which is faith, which is the testimony of Jesus, Jesus also said, keep the commandments of God. There you go again. Here's what the saints did. They kept the commandments of God, and they had the testimony of Christ. And they walked in the Spirit, not after the flesh. Self-check, Hebrews. Ephesians 6. Ephesians 6. It's a self-check. Am I walking in the Spirit, or am I my pride? Am I in a deeper love of myself, or am I in a deeper love of my Father? Ephesians 6, we're going to start reading at verse 10. Ephesians 6, verse 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So we're not fighting against one another. We're fighting against our spirit versus their spirit. And that's what I always try to, I'm serious. I always try to keep this in mind when I deal with everybody. Because sometimes a person is acting a certain way because of the spirit that's on them. Maybe they don't really want to be that way, but they continue to give into their flesh, which allows that spirit to continue to let them still be the way that they want to be. This is exactly why we got to pray and fast and ask the Lord to lift that spirit up off of us. That's if you want it gone. And then you got to walk in the spirit so it don't come back. Because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. That's what we're dealing with. You have to be actually what Christ said to be. This is another verse that I always have to keep in my mind when I'm ready to snap. Verse Matthew 5. This is one of the verses I always got to keep in mind, man. Because I want to be an inheritor. I want the earth as my inheritance. Matthew 5, verse 3. Let's start at verse 1. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain. So Christ saw all these people, and he went up into a mountain. I'm just reading this to confirm for people that Christ was not preaching to the whole multitude. He went up into a mountain, and when he was set, his disciples came unto him. So the disciples came to him, and now he's teaching the disciples, not the multitudes, as they show you in movies. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek. This is the verse I always got to remember. And even when I have friends and family and brothers and sisters who get ready to go off, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. That's what I'm trying to do. And that's why I always try to encourage other people to do too. Stay meek. Don't fly off the handle, because now you ain't meek no more. Let's keep reading. Blessed are they that do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Are prideful people merciful? No, they trying to straight up embarrass you. They ain't trying to hear nothing you got to say. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for there is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my name's sake. And I'm a living witness of that. So if I can survive this and still try to be what the Lord want me to be, you can do it too, people. You can do it as well. Walk away, pray, and wait a day. That's all I'm saying. Walk away, pray, and wait a day. 2 more scriptures, because that is when it comes to individuals, as you know. But now I want to read the pride of Israel. Let's go to Ezekiel 16. Because the one thing that also changed me when it came to my pride and stuff is the fact when I'm reading my ancestors was the same way, and look at all the trouble they got them into. So I need to change. Someone want to argue with me? I hate arguing. I really do. I got a brother, my brother Mikael. I know he probably watching. Back in the day, he wanted me to get into the debate scene with him. I couldn't do it. I was like, man, that's just too much arguing to me. You know, and I'm not that person. I will put this book down, but I can't do it, because I feel there's a spirit, and I got to give my hats off to that brother, because I have not seen that spirit jump off on him. But a lot of the debate brothers, it's all about them and proving something right. It ain't about uplifting the Lord. It ain't about edifying the people. So I didn't want to get caught up with that, because I hate arguing. I really do. Shout out the Walls of Jericho. Cassius, Ade, Mikael. Because that's what everybody is on now. Bringing everybody together. And that's the type of brothers we all need, to bring everything together, man. Seriously. Ezekiel 16, we're going to start at verse 1. But these are the things that we're going to read now. It's all about Israel as a whole now. Yeah, my Baptist blood is starting to come up out of me, so I got to wipe it off. Let's go to Ezekiel 16 and verse 1. And we're going to do some skipping. Ezekiel 16, verse 1. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abominations. So like I said, we've already dealt with self-check when it comes to pride, a deeper love of ourself. Let's look at the pride that our ancestors had and we still have today. All right, let's skip down to verse 35. So he's talking directly to Jerusalem. Verse 35. Wherefore, O harlot, Hear the word of the Lord. Did the Lord just call us a hoe? That's what it sounded like to me. It sounded like the Lord called Israel a hoe. Let's keep reading. Verse 36. Thus saith the Lord God, because thy filthiness was poured out, and thy nakedness discovered through thy whoredoms with thy lovers, and with the idols of thy abominations, and by the blood of thy children, which thou did givest unto them. Yes, Israel was giving their children to other nations for sacrifices. Isn't it kind of hard to believe that these people knew the law and went against? See, these days, a lot of us don't know the law, and I'm speaking in general as Israel, and we doing stuff, right? But they knew then, and they were just prideful and was like, man, I'm still sacrificing my child to that God. Skip down to verse 48. As I live, saith the Lord, Sodom thy sister hath not done, she nor her daughters, as thou hast done, thou and thy daughters. Behold, this is the iniquity of thy sister Sodom, pride. Ooh. Ooh. I ain't getting no sip today, so I gotta do at least once video. Fullness of bread and the abundance of idleness was in her and in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. And they were haughty and committed abominations before me. Therefore I took them away and saw as I saw good. Neither hath Samaria committed half thy sins, but thou hast multiplied thy abominations more than they, and hast justified thy sisters in all thine abominations, which thou hast done. Thou also, which hast judged thy sisters, bear thine own shame, for thy sins that thou hast committed before an abominable than they. They are more righteous than thou. Oh my goodness. So Israel was so prideful, they did all these abominations that was worse than Sodom and Gomorrah and Samaria. My goodness. No wonder the Lord is so upset with us, but he got to keep that promise that he gave to Abraham. Sometimes I wonder if the Lord looks now and says, I shouldn't have listened to Moses. I'm serious. And y'all ever thought about that after reading this whole book and seeing what we all going through right now? Sometimes I wonder if the Lord was like, I shouldn't have listened to Moses. I should have killed all of them and started over with him. It's a thought. It's not the book, so don't start making phone calls, all right? It's just things that I wonder about sometimes after reading. But it said, they are more righteous than thou. Yeah, be thou confounded also, and bear thy shame, in that thou hast justified thy sisters. This is what thus saith the Lord. That we were worse than Sodom and Gomorrah and Samaria. Samaria ain't did half the stuff we've done because of our pride. You want to see some real pride? Let's go to the last scripts. Let's go to Nehemiah 9. You want to see some real pride? Let's do some reading. Nehemiah 9. We gonna start, let me see where I want to start at again. All right. Nehemiah 9, we're gonna start at verse 10. Now let me give you what this is. This is when the elders, they were doing the exact same thing that Acts 7. What's dude's name in Acts 7? Stephen. Remember when Stephen was telling the whole history of Israel, and they got so mad that they killed him, they stoned him for it. I should have put that in here too. That's pride. They didn't even want to hear what Stephen had to say, so they killed him. Same thing with Jeremiah. So this is the same thing is going on. They're telling, let me see, how much time I got? I got 15 minutes. Okay, so cool. Yeah, we're going to read. We're going to start at verse 1, and I'll just start skipping down. Nehemiah 9 and verse 1. Now in the 24th day of this month, the children of Israel were assembled with fasting and with sackcloth in the earth upon them. And the seed of Israel separated themselves from all the strangers, and they stood and confessed their sins and the iniquities of their fathers. So they're doing exactly what the Father said to do in Leviticus 26 verse 40. Confess your sins and your father's sins. And they stood up in their place to read the book of the law of the Lord their God 1/4 part of the day, and another 4th part of the confess and worship the Lord and their God. Then stood up I'm about to mess these names up again. Then stood up upon the stairs of the Levites, Jeshua and Benai, Kalmala, Shabanana, Bunny, Sherebam, Bina, and Chinana, and cried with a loud voice unto the Lord. I hope there ain't no more names. Oh, there's more names. Then the Levites, Jeshua and Kalmana and Bina and Hathabenana. Don't y'all make this, what I'm doing right now, a meme. Don't y'all dare make this a meme when you're trying to read these words. I saw somebody do that before. Shabinana and Pithina said, stand up and bless the Lord your God forever. Okay, let me get some more of the Baptist blood off me, because I was sweating trying to read them names. And bless your God forever and forever. And blessed be the glorious name which exalt above all the blessings of praise. Thou, even thou, art Lord alone. Thou hast made heaven, the heavens have, and thou hast made heaven, the heaven of heavens, with all their hosts, and the earth, and all these things that were therein in the seas, and all that. So they're giving homage to the Lord. They're praising the Lord for everything that he has done. All right? And all that is therein, and thou preservest them all, and the host of heaven worship thee. Thou art the Lord God, who didst choose Abram, and broughtest him out forth of Ur of the Chaldees, and gavest him the name Abraham. Thou foundest his heart faithful before thee, and madest a covenant with him to give the land of Canaan, the land of the Canaanites and Hittites and Amorites and Perizzites and Jebusites and Girgashites, to give it. I say to his seed, and hast performed thy words, for thou art righteous, and didst see the affliction of our fathers in Egypt, and heardest their cry by the Red Sea. And again, they're breaking down everything they know the Lord has done, and they're reading it out the book, and they're praising him for it. But watch this. Thou showedest signs and wonders upon Pharaoh, and on all his servants and all the people of his land. For thou knowest that they dealt proudly against them. Didn't we read about how prideful Pharaoh was? How they treated 400 years, how they treated our ancestors. So didst thou get thee a name, as it is this day? And thou didst divide the sea before them, so that they went through the midst of the sea of the dry land, and their persecutors thou threwest into the deeps, as a stone into the mighty waters. Moreover, thou leddest them in the day by a cloudy pillar, and in the night by a pillar of fire, to give them light in the way wherein they should go. And the Lord did all this because he loved us. He made a promise. He did all of this stuff, and they're confessing this. Thou camest down also upon the Mount Sinai and spakest with them from heaven, and gavest them right judgments and true laws, good statutes and commandments, and madest known unto them thy holy Sabbath, and commandest them precepts, statutes, and laws by the hand of Moses thy servant. And gavest them bread from heaven for their hunger, and broughtest forth water for them out of the rock for their thirst, and promised them that they should go in to possess the land which thou hast sworn to give them. God did all this wonderful works for his children, for his wife, but our pride got in the way again. And what did we do? But they and our fathers dealt proudly. And hardened their necks, and hearkened not to thy commandment. Our forefathers dealt proudly. Pride comes before destruction. And that's why we're going through this destruction today. Because our ancestors and us are still being prideful. And refused to obey. Let's read 17. And refused to obey. Neither were mindful to thy wonders that thou didst amongst them. And hardened their necks, and their rebellion appointed. In their rebellion appointed a captain to return to their bondage. But thou art God, ready to pardon, gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and forsook them not. And he won't forsake you either. If you repent and turn from the ways that we've been taught by the wide gate of this world, and start focusing on the straight gate, you too can be a part of that 1/3 that's going to get in Israel. And to the other nations, you too can be a part of the commonwealth of Israel. But you got to swallow that pride. The meek shall inherit the earth. That's what thus saith the Lord. I hope this lesson is helping somebody. Like it helped me. Like the Lord helped me. All right. Lord had to spank me hard, man, to get me to change. I don't really want to see that to happen to anybody else. But if it has to happen, it has to happen. But that's why I like doing lessons like this, to help people change themselves too. So I thank you guys for watching. I hope again. Praise the Lord God of Israel. Hallelujah. In Jesus' mighty name. Please share the video. Do some watch parties. And I thank y'all for watching. Periscope went out. I'll be loading this up to YouTube soon. All right.
Time to wake up.
Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake.
Time to wake up.